Now, we've already talked about the power snatch, and we gave you a nice long video instruction about the power snatch. And the power snatch explains the mechanics of the snatch. The snatch is a pull and a drop. And the elbows and shoulder position at the rack are set by the drop portion of the snatch. We've already gone over that, so I'm not going to repeat myself today. But what we're going to talk about today is the split snatch. It was discovered back in the probably late 50s, early 60s, that it was mechanically easier to lift heavier weights if you could manage to squat down all the way under the snatch and catch it with locked elbows and shoulders in a low squat position. Prior to that, the split was the mechanism by which the drop under the bar was accomplished. And it works very, very well. Probably not as well as a full squat snatch, but some people can't do a full squat snatch, and some people have no business trying to learn a full squat snatch because you don't need to be dead doing this. It's an extremely athletic movement. It depends quite a bit on flexibility, and not everybody can get in that position. But if you can power snatch, you can split snatch. The split snatch is easier to do. For masters lifters or people that are not in danger of winning the Olympics, the split snatch is a perfectly reasonable method for doing this movement. Today we're going to show you how to do a split snatch, and I want you to try this and see if you can incorporate it into your training. All right, we're going to start with just some power snatches and make sure we've got the actual snatch mechanics down. Remember, we're at a wide grip. The bar touches the lap, and then it's pulled up as close to the body as you can, and the lockout, the straight elbows and the wrists in extension, and the trap shrug are facilitated by the dropping of the body underneath the bar. And we're just going to do a regular power snatch now to illustrate this concept and let Rusty get a little warmer here. Okay. Okay, internally rotate your elbows a little bit more than that and try to touch the bar to your shirt on the way up. Okay, you don't want to loop the bar. This is not a swing, it's a snatch. That looked better, okay, and down. Now, what we're going to do is get the bar out of the way and practice the actual split footwork. Roll that thing forward. Now, the split snatch is just like a split jerk in that the forward and backward split facilitates the drop part of the snatch that during the power snatch you just saw, his hips only were performing. So if we split, we increase the distance between the feet, and it's easier to drop the hips down in between them. There's a bent forward knee, a bent backward knee, and just like in the jerk, there is no tight roping. There is no medial narrowing of the stance. It's forward and back, the same stance width as it is for the pull. So let's try a couple. Hands will be on the hips, and just to facilitate a split, you're going to do a bounce just like you do on the jerk. Now be aware of the fact that you don't do a bounce during the split snatch. That's one of the striking differences between a split jerk and a split snatch. But the feet move exactly the same way. Let's see it. Okay, Rusty splits with his right leg, right foot forward. Reach way, way forward. Good. And recovery is from the front to the back. Let's see the rotation of the feet. Remember that's it. Let's work on that again. Make that look a little more positive. All right. Now, Just like in a split jerk, what you would like to do is spend as little time planted at the bottom as possible. You want to hit the split and rebound back up out of the split if possible to do that. Try that and see if you can do it without the bar. It's got to be positive. If it's not positive, stay there a minute. And you may have to do that a couple of times just to plant it to make sure it's positive before you bounce out. But if you bounce up out of the bottom and you're unstable, you're going to lose the bar. Try it again. Okay, one more. That was pretty good. Same thing. Good, and recover. Now see how little time you can spend in the split at the bottom. And a little unstable. Try it again. That looked pretty good. All right, now, I want to make sure that we understand what we're doing here. When you split on the third attempt on the platform, the depth of the split needs to be exactly the same as all of your warm-ups. We practice this split. You have to perform it every time exactly the same way. So we're not changing the mechanics of that side of the movement pattern as you go from lightweight to third attempt on the platform. So the split depth is the same every time. Some people have a tendency to split shallow with lightweight and then get deeper as they go along. This is not a practice scenario, because if you're going to do it with a heavy weight on the platform, then you're going to have to do it to the same depth. So you're solving the same mechanical problem with the split every time, so that you're used to doing the same thing every time at the same split depth and width that you are going to use on heavy attempts too. So make sure that your splits are all done to the same depth every single time. So now we're all warmed up. We've warmed the snatch up, we've warmed up the split. So what we're going to do now is just put them together. And there's not any real way to do this other than to just put them together. We're going to start at the hang. So go ahead and take your split, take your snatch grip, pull it up here, and I'm going to get out of your way. And you are going to pull and split. Just like that. And you meet the top of the snatch with a big shrug. Make sure that the palm of your hand is pointed at the ceiling, like that. Don't catch a snatch in the web of your thumb, okay? Elbows are rotated in, keep it close to the shirt, split, okay? Now, it's not unusual for a person who's been just doing splits, power snatches, to forget to split a couple of times. If that happens, just go back, do it again. You're going to need right now to practice incorporating the split footwork into the snatch pull. Okay, a couple more times. Fix your wrists, fix your wrists. Don't catch the bar, point the wrist at the ceiling. All these little picky details have got to be ironed out before we go up in weight, okay? Notice that he's pulling the bar nice and close to the body. Good. What might help you a little bit more is to think more about leading with the wrist. One more. Okay, and back down. Okay, now we're going to add a little weight to this, and this time we're going to pull the first one from the hang just to make sure the pattern is still there, and then we'll pull all the rest of them from the floor. Let's see the first one from a hang. Good. Good, just like that. Now, from the floor. This time, from the floor, we're doing a floor pull with a snatch grip, which means that we're going to see high hips. We're going to see knees and toes out a little bit more than you would expect to see on, for example, a clean. This accommodates the more horizontal back angle that's made necessary by the wider grip, okay? Toes out, knees out. Knees ought to actually be in contact with the inside of your elbows, just like that. Good. That one looped a little bit. You feel it?
Yes, sir.
Keep it closer to the shirt on the way up. This time, make sure your low back is set a little bit tighter than that, Rusty. Belly drops down between the thighs. That's better. Close. Much better. Good. Do one more at that same weight. Keep it close. Keep it close. That time you split a little shallow, okay? Rest just a second. Now we want to remember that the split is to the same depth every time. So let's get a full depth split on this last one, so that we're actually practicing the same movement with our light weights as we're going to carry into heavy weights later. Reach, reach with the front foot. Reach. Not quite. Here, rest a minute. Rest. That was probably about the right. Was that the right depth? That looked like more consistent with the empty bar? All right. Good. That was right. All right. The reason Rusty's having trouble with his split depth is because that's normal. Everybody is going to have problems with their split depth because the tendency is to not split any deeper than you need to. But it's important to keep in mind that we are practicing here for heavy weights, and heavy weights are going to be split deep. So for you to practice that, you have to split light weights deep too, so that you get used to recovering from the bottom position. And so that there's no change in the movement pattern except for the weight on the barbell. Now let's try 50. Reach forward, get depth. That's better. Try it again. Back foot cocked in. You feel it rotate in. Don't let it fall in. Hold it out. It might help you to think about dropping the back knee as much as thinking about reaching forward with the front foot. That looks much better. Much better position. This is 60 kilos the easy way. We just added a 5 to the yellow plates. Every time the weight goes up, you are going to try to revert to the previous form error. Be aware of the fact that that happens every time you go up in weight on one of the Olympic lifts. You're going to fall back onto the previously practiced movement pattern. So make sure the depth is there. You seem to like the idea of thinking about the back knee. Let's see if that works this time. This is 60. Try it again. Rest a second.
Is that back leg again?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, your back heel's wiggling, and it's just the thing's falling apart from that point forward. All right. Try it again. That's a little wiggly, but that's probably we'll have to settle for that. So there's the basic process that's involved in this. You're going to learn the power snatch first. And once you know how to do the snatch, then you're going to practice your footwork. You're going to practice your split footwork. And then you just get on there and put it together. And the depth has to be constant. I can't emphasize enough how much dry practice, hands on hips, with the split is involved in producing a good split in a split snatch. Hope this helps.